I am joined now by a remarkable woman from right here at WCIA. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our Vice President and General Manager, Angie Salas. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for welcoming me.
All right, so many people I know who work in this industry want to be a general manager. So I would love to know what your journey was like to get here.
Oh my goodness, that was a very long journey, so that was a great question. My media journey started out in Dallas, Texas, and then ventured to Louisville, Kentucky, by way of Chicago, then to the Quad Cities, then Indianapolis, then here. So I started out on the rep firm side of the business, which allowed me to broker TV stations, and then I moved to the station side. So I moved up on the sales side, but had a lot of exposure and classes to help me prepare for this general manager role.
And I think that that's really important, to take classes and things like that, and then also have hands-on learning as well. So do you have any mentors or sort of specific things that you learned along the way that stand out to you?
Absolutely. My very first boss in the business was awesome. She taught me all that I needed to know, but then when I started to ask for more things, she would give me homework assignments so that I could work on them on my own, and then she would quiz me and say, okay, this is what can really help you. When I moved to the Quad Cities, I expressed an interest in being a general manager someday, and so my general manager at the time was amazing, and he spent the time giving me exposure to different areas where I wasn't used to, like news or production or operations or syndicated programming, things like that. And my last company had me actually go through a 3-year training program to prepare me for this role, highlighting all of the other areas that maybe I hadn't had exposure to before.
I like that. So you ultimately had a great combo of learning by doing, but then also taking the training classes and things like that.
Yes.
What advice would you give to any women watching or people who potentially would like to be a general manager or even some other job that's in leadership eventually? What would you tell them to do now?
I would definitely say to stay curious. That is the one thing that has really helped me along the way. And so I always am looking for that next opportunity. And what I mean by that is, I love what I'm doing, but I'm always approaching things with a curious mind of what else could I learn? What if I did it this way? How about this? And so then it helps me ask a lot of questions, and then I start to learn from asking those questions, and then it helps me to just get involved. And so that's how I like to learn. But that's the advice I would give to anybody who's looking to move ahead, is just get involved, stay curious, and ask questions about how you could be more involved.
And I think that that's great advice, and I've enjoyed that about you, working with you, because it's never a no, it's always a, well, how can we, or how could we look at this differently? So I really appreciate that about you, that you that's your advice, but you also live that, which I really like.
Thank you, thank you. We try to approach things very creatively, and sometimes if you look at it just with one set of eyes, you're not getting the full scope, and so I try to take everyone's feedback and say, okay, let's invite some collaboration and see, is there a possibility? How can we do this? And the answer might be no, but oftentimes we find a really creative solution, which is awesome.
And creativity, I feel like, is what breeds innovation and all sorts of great things.
Yeah.
And something you asked me when I interviewed for the job here was, why Central Illinois?
This is the perfect spot for us, for our family. So my husband's originally from the Quad Cities, but our 2 older boys live in the Quad Cities now. Our youngest child is at school at Ball State University. And so we're right smack dab in the middle to where we can visit family all the time, and it's great.
And that's really cool, that I feel like you're a great example of being able to have it all. You have a family at home, you have sort of career success, but then you kind of can do it all. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't believe is possible, or they feel like something is lacking. So how have you balanced that throughout your career?
I really prioritize things that are non-negotiable for me. So like working out for me is a non-negotiable. So I make sure that I prioritize that in the morning. And then my work day, I'm all in on my work day. But then when I go home for my family, I really try to be all in for my family. Early in my career, I would say that I wasn't great at that. And so as I've gotten older, I have definitely learned that segmenting the time is very important to having that work-life balance.
I think that's true, and organization, I feel like, is a big part of that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I feel like that is wisdom that comes as you sort of have done it, of where are your priorities. So that's really cool. Is there any final thought you would like to leave us with?
No, I just love the Champaign market, and so people have been so incredibly welcoming here, so I couldn't find a better place to call home.
I agree with you. I feel like we've talked about this before. You come from other places and there's not a 2-hour line for brunch, or there's no traffic or things like that. So
right, and the food is amazing, and you can find anything here, and people are so friendly. So yeah,
anything you need.
Anything you need.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here and for talking with me and sharing all of that information.
Yeah. Thank you.
If you want to learn more about Angie, you can visit us on the web at ciLiving.tv after the show.